Young minister, there's so much pressure in trying to be the right type of preacher. He needs to preach like this. He needs to be able to study like this. He needs to dress like this. He's hugging too many people. He needs to stand at the door. He needs to do this. He needs to, and so criticism can choke a ministry with criticism, because I'm assuming that it never stops, in ministry. Somebody's always talking that the sermon was too long, it was too short, you're too forceful, you're too quiet. How do you be authentic in ministry and deal with the criticism?
You be authentic by being you. I live by the Ray Charles philosophy and theology. Do you,
Right.
man? Do you? All of us imitate. When I start preaching, I come out of the Baptist tradition, and there is a stylistic. There's a style that characterized Baptist preaching. That style didn't fit me.
Mm.
And when I got into congregations of Churches of Christ, I'm basically a lecturing kind of preacher. I'm more into the intellect, into the academics. I'm not against emotion, but that style of preaching didn't fit me. So, in the Baptist tradition. So, when I first got in Congregational Church of Christ, a colleague, still friend, David Lane, would take me to different places to hear different preachers, because we were trying to find me somebody to imitate.
Right.
I was under one of the greatest preachers in our brotherhood, even now, Dr. W.F. Washington. Deep voice, presence, personality, charisma.
Yeah.
He had one of these photographic memories. I couldn't get past Acts 2:1. And he and his young protege here were quoting all of Acts 1,
Right. And
Acts 2,
And.
Acts 3.
yeah.
And God gave me lungs, and He gave them a generator.
Right.
And as much as I love Dr. Washington, that didn't fit me.
That wasn't your style.
And so I went to, he took me to hear Reggie Dula. Suave, personality, good looks, articulate. Reggie could charm anybody.
Right.
And I loved it, but it wasn't me.
Right.
And then he took me to hear Dr. R.C. Wells, tall, slender fellow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He said, "You tall, you slender, so maybe we can find some identification there." And again, he quoted scriptures, so he could quote them faster than you could read them. It didn't work. And then Lane said to me, he said, "Man, look, we're wasting all this gas. I'm taking you all these places." He said, "Make your own." He said, "Do what's comfortable to you." And that's what preaching is, where God takes His words, but He always works it through the personality of the preacher.
Right.
So whatever your personality is, and in fact, Dr. Heyward and I had this conversation years ago. He became impressed with my style of preaching, and I said to him, I said, "Man, look, use your calling card. God has given you this photographic memory." The only thing I said to him is what I say to young preachers, and that is, do Sunday school before you do church.
Right.
And that is, give them, when they shout, just make sure they know what they're shouting about.
Yeah.
And so I would say to young preachers, look at other guys, but see how it fits into your own personality and your style. And eventually you will find you.
I think that's the problem with younger preachers, because we don't value our style because no one else values our style.
Yeah.
And if someone would value that style, say you're doing really, really good, then we begin to put stock in who we are.
Doctors and lawyers and other professionals don't allow other folk to determine their value. I don't care how much a doctor charges. I don't like what doctors charge, but they value them. Young men need to learn how to understand and appreciate the fact that God has put value in you. Find you. Peter and Paul, two different styles.
Right.
We must rather listen to Peter. But boy, when we get ready to conceptualize stuff,
We want to listen to Paul.
we go to Paul.
What would you?
I'm still young. I don't know about my big brother.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I think young preachers just have to know the difference between criticism and constructive criticism. That you're going to always be under a microscope. And you have to know that some things are not worth listening to. And you've got to make sure you're comfortable with who you are before God. And I think sometimes if you listen to too many people, you'll let them define you. And I think we got to be careful about allowing folk to define us, because whoever defines you controls you. And you can very easily become controlled. So I think in a local church particularly, you will find you will have much criticism because you have so many different personalities. So you're going to have to know the difference between a constructive criticism of your ministry and what is just a generic, worthless criticism that this person is giving based on their personality. And sometimes we don't know how to navigate that. And you end up becoming a slave to what people think. And I'm a real big proponent of 2 Timothy 2:15, a verse that we quote generically, but he's talking to a preacher.
Right.
And he says, be diligent to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So I think there is a sense in which you have to become obsessed with being pleasing to God, and that way you don't become overly enslaved by people's opinions.
Do you find yourself getting cold? Like you almost have to become a little cold to preach because the comments that was good sermon. You did a good job, and then the next thing you don't get anything. Then the next Sunday, I don't know what God put in you, but you are just. And so you're dealing with this instability of comments. And you know, there are some preachers that are criticized for being too stern, but I'm almost sensing there's a coldness that you almost are a wall that you have to almost build so that the comments doesn't affect you, and you can just get to business and do. So whether you clap, whether you say amen, whether you pat me on the back, whether you say I'm going to keep doing what I need to do, you know.
No, I don't get cold to the point where I'm going to isolate myself or even not hear this. Doc has insightfully suggested that there's some criticism that's in fact constructive,
Right.
and I need to be sensitive and open to that. What people say to me, positively and negatively, at one point in time, I listened to it. I allowed it to affect me. But I grew up. As young people will, they will grow up, and they'll start ciphering out this kind of stuff. Look, all three of us are academicians. We've been in the classroom. We've been taught a certain styles, certain outline, oftentimes from a European point of view. And there is some merit in that. But when you come into the context of our culture, all of that stuff changed. I used to hold my Bible like Billy Graham. So you learn that for what it is worth. It's not wrong. But when you come to your culture and your people, you have to also understand where they are. And people are nice and people can be nice. But they can also be unnecessarily critical. Jealousy has something to do with that. They see the way you interact with your wife, your children, your leaders. And it's almost like, and you played college football, high school football, you're an outstanding athlete. Cheerleaders don't show up for the practice.
Right. Right.
They show up for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Church folk show up for the game.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody hollering and screaming at you, waving pom-poms in your study.
Right.
And they don't know how you and God have wrestled with this truth all week long. And
right.
and they're not going to give you but 30, 35 minutes to present it.
Right.
If they give you that much.
Right.
But so you have to know, because God speaks to my heart before he speaks to them. And that's why oftentimes I go through little things where I'm rubbing my head and getting ready to shout and shout, because I tell folk, I know what I'm about to say.
Right.
I've already shouted on it.
Right. I already had worship in my office. Yeah.
Y'all the cheerleaders.
Right.
But what our job is to help them to shout on what God has already shouted us on, to teach them what God has already taught us. And so I stopped judging my sermons and its response based upon their reaction. Because or the way my professors taught me to outline sermons. And so I decided that I'm going to do the work the Holy Spirit has put in my heart. And the Holy Spirit now has to take the word he has put in my heart and then put it in their heart. And so I'm going to do my work, and then I'm going to stand back and trust that he's going to do his work.
Yeah. You got to have a filter, and you got to be careful about people. People will celebrate you today.
Yeah.
And man, when
the
you
weekend.
preach, then you preach that sermon that they didn't like, and they forgot every sermon they loved because of that one sermon they didn't like. Maybe how you said it, maybe you hit a hot button, and all of a sudden you're not the favorite preacher anymore. You got to understand, they can celebrate you with, my God, that was the best sermon I ever heard. And then a few weeks later,
Drop you.
Yeah, and if you are controlled by that, then you will be affected in the sense of your perception of your own value. And it's the same thing sometimes when you're with a local church for an elongated amount of time. Man, when you first got there,
You was
you was Jesus' little cousin. I mean, you was the baddest thing out. But they get used to you. Then you bring in the guest speaker, and he preaches, and they said, man, I ain't never heard that before. That was the
And you turn it around
and they stand next to you saying it.
Right.
And you're like, you ain't never heard. So you got to know, half the time is that they're used to you. And you got to know that happens. You're around, you're among them. And so you got to be careful.
One of the things about, I love anniversaries and I hate them. Because I have a tendency to take them too personal. You know that people are wanting to appreciate you. That you appreciate. But then you look at the audience and you said, now, where's the one that I got up at 3:30 in the morning and went out to the jailhouse? I was there at surgery.
Right.
And then you have a tendency to judge them
Based upon
similarly the way they judge you. And that's a moment. Because you thinking all that you've done for all these folks, they're going to show up on your day
and celebrate you.
and celebrate and appreciate you, not knowing that something may have happened to them that day. And so
Or they scheduled something else on your day and we ain't gonna be able to stay. So, but congratulations.
Right, congratulations. I used to tell folk, which psychologically helped me. A person told me, stop treating the Lord's wife like she's yours.
Mm.
And what they meant is sometimes you got to remember that this ain't your woman.
Right.
And this gentleman said, love her, but don't fall in love with her. Because if you're falling in love with a woman that's not yours, and when she hurts you, you take it personal. But you got to remember that's not your woman.
That was never yours, yeah.
And it can become disheartening if you can't manage it. And you have to manage the fickle nature of God's people. Mm. And that's hard when you're human.
Yeah.
And young men need to find not only an older man to establish a mentoring relationship,
yes,
but they need to get some friends.
Yeah.
You know, this dude's my friend. Now, I got kids probably older than he.
Yeah.
But we have so much in common in terms of academia, in terms of ministry,
Yeah.
in terms of church work and all that stuff. You need some fellas, some folk that you could just show enough be you.
Yeah, I know that's right.
And know that it ain't going nowhere.
Right. Yes.
You know, there are guys who would not be, just won't be colleagues with, won't be friends with.
That's right.
Because he's so gifted. And we work in the same city, and the pool, I mean, I've got folk come from my church from his, and vice versa.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And they love us both.
Right.
And we need to be sure that, you know, the communication is always clear between us, because, you know, I'm a generation ahead of him.
Right.
But I'm for him. And
You need somebody that's for you.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
a real
Who
friendship.
understand?
Yeah, because some people have political friendships
Yeah.
and not genuine, you know, and him and I are genuinely friends. I'm glad you brought that up, because you need that comfort that I can speak to him transparently. He can see me at a weak place, and I know that he's going to be helpful and not expose me for where I am.
Or use it against you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because ministry is frustrating, man, and you need that.
Said it again.
It is frustrating. Capital on all them letters.
And one last note.
Yeah.
My wife started a ministry just among preachers' wives, the National Ministers' Wives Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And she started it 30 years ago, when both of us were young. When I was preaching out in Los Angeles, and she'll be hosting it next year. And the reason she did it, because she helped me to understand that when we would go back to the back door, there were ladies who come by, wouldn't speak to her, but would hug and caress me, and were all up in my face and just ignored her. And she was supported then, and she's supported now. It was out of that experience that she said, if I'm feeling this way.
How many others are feeling? Yeah.
And then she began that conference in our home. And she has blessed so many women across the nation, because people who have exactly the same problem come together among themselves
To discuss.
to minister and to discuss those issues. And the preaching fraternity ought to be similar. But of course, there's so much rivalry, there's so much jealousy because of each other's success. You know, you were able to plant a church. The church is growing, the church is thriving, and but your colleagues, old and young,
Right.
you know, can become intimidated by your success, and become unnecessarily critical. But you know, they don't understand what you went through. Again,
Lord Jesus.
is they show up for the game.
Yeah.
They weren't there for the practice.
Now, they weren't there for the practice.
Right.
And so we always need to be aware of that. You need somebody
Yeah.
that you can confide in, respect, and you know, just be friends with. You know, we discuss theology, but we go out and play golf
Yes, sir.
and write members' name on the
I
ball.
know that's right.
That's
Swing
so
hard.
wonderful catharsis.
I would say this. I would say this. That's good. I need to play baseball or something. I'll say this when we close. Sunday after everything is over, what do you do? We'll close with this. Like Sunday, you finish preaching.
Yeah.
You sweat it out. You've given. You poured yourself. It is the most vulnerable time for a minister. Almost the worst time to hear criticism because you're vulnerable. What do you do after you finish? What does Sunday evening look like for you?
Look, I got a great wife, and
If you in PG-13, whatever you do.
I got a great wife, and I absolutely love spending time with her, and that's a good time for a Sunday afternoon, and then that's also the time that I watch old Western movies.
Okay.
Because Monday is coming.
Right.
And, oftentimes that's our day together.
That's right.
Okay, Sunday's over, and here's Monday, that's golf day.
So on Sunday, it's really your wife ministers to you. And you get away with some Westerns.
Yes, sir.
Because you want to shoot somebody or something like that. Maybe you want to, and you release from
A
there.
wonderful catharsis.
Yeah.
It's a family day for me, after it's over. It's interesting. I don't know how many preachers probably go through that, but I'm critical on myself after I preach.
Very.
Oh, I should have said, and if I could have formulated that comment better, and I'm sitting there going through all that. It's my family that kind of takes my mind from that. My kids and my wife, by the time I get around them, they have completely redirected my mind into a really relaxed afternoon.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know if this is my thing. I'm a martial artist in addition to. So I'll go in my backyard.
Yeah, you do.
And
Knock the what?
and I'm throwing knives at a tree and just kind of calming down. But it's a family day.
Yeah.
And it's a time for my kids to remind me I have something outside of ministry.
And it's good to hear both to say, after I finish pouring myself, I am, that you go into supporting units that help you heal and to take that away. Because if not, it stays with you on Monday.
Yeah.
And it builds afterwards. I appreciate y'all giving the time.
Well, thank you for your
Thank
ministry.
you, man.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
know
sir.
that's right. Appreciate you, man.
Big.